coming on this rainy Sunday. We were at the last minute was thinking, well, nobody's going to come because there's going to be a downpour. But not only did you come, but I think the weather might be clearing just a little. And after we introduce a few people, and you can look at this sign here, we can go out and see the real sign. This was sponsored, and the Tramp House is looked after by the Historical Commission. And just in case you don't know, I'm going to introduce the members, some of whom are here and some of whom aren't. But first is Marcia Johnston in the raincoat. She's our treasurer, has been for eons. Geri Tasker is our secretary, who takes excellent minutes and has served also for decades. Sandra Paquette is sponsoring today a race in honor of her son. And she's our populatic historian, and she knows everything about that side of town. Betsey Whitney is from Plainville, and she has recently completed a history of Plainville. And she's Plainville. Not Plainville. Plainville. She would be gay. And Thelma, this is Thelma Ravinski. She is our general historian, and she speaks at schools and the Boy Scouts, and has and has personally created our oral history, which is for sale over there. If you have never seen our oral history, it's called Norfolk Stories. We're getting ready to publish our second version, all done by Thelma. Barbara Bartholomew.
Barbara
Bartholomew.
And Alex, where is she, Geri?
Alex, yes, she's worked on the oral histories. Barbara Bartholomew is our historian, researcher, teacher, author, and some of her publications are also for sale on top of the bookcase. And I'm Betsy.
Field hockey coach.
And field hockey coach.
She's invaluable. She's invaluable.
We always encourage people who might want to serve on the Historical Commission to please come to our meetings and join up as an associate member if you're so inclined, because we always need new blood, new ideas, and heaven knows we've been around a long time. So we could use that.
Yeah. We both have been over 30 years.
30 years. Anyway, the building that you're standing in, many citizens of Norfolk have never even been in this building, but this is our Tramp House, and it was created to be a home for homeless people. And I had seen records in the town that showed that the selectmen were caring for a widow and 2 children that lived here, I believe, although I guess that's not absolutely for certain. When we cleaned out the Tramp House, it had lots of bicycles and it was being used for storage. And we found a lantern, and if you turn around you'll see the lantern that says home. To me always was evidence that this really was somebody's home. And that, along with that, we found some beds and some clothes for little people, little children, and I think we found a doll or some toy or something. It was sponsored by the town, and the town would either pay people to deliver food here or to provide some kind of food. I think they also delivered wood.
It's written in the town report.
Crackers.
They brought crackers.
Yeah. Congratulations, here are your crackers. And they had wood, because there was a wood stove here. And nobody in town had a refrigerator, so they might have had a small ice box. And that was the deal. Shortly after that, it was used as the Tramp House, maybe at the same time, but there were different rooms here. It wasn't just one open room. I think they probably slept upstairs. But there was a basement. And as you can see on this sign, and I'm not going to point it out to you because you can look later, there were 3 locations for the Tramp House. Because the first time, it was in the middle of the street. And as the street widened, they moved it up the hill a little bit. And then they moved it closer to the library, and it was actually part of the school curriculum program. And they had home economics courses in here. And then in 1985, when the library was first expanded, it moved over here. And that's when it got rotated. The door used to go into the hill. We put the door on the front, and that's how it got to be in this location, the 3rd location of the Tramp House. And one of the fun things about this sign, to me, because I love the Tramp House, was that Barbara discovered the 3 locations of the Tramp House. And because we never knew where it was, you probably all know that North Street, which is no longer now this section of North Street is no longer existing. It went right through the center of the library. And the Tramp House was on the left side of North Street. And you can see all that on this sign. Now to get to the sign, Barbara thought up this sign and carried it out. And now I'm going to introduce Cindy Andre, who's going to tell you about the next chapter. Cindy is the chair of the Community Preservation Fund. Committee.
And I actually wrote something.
Good.
I don't trust myself to wing it. And I know it says that I'm going to speak on the mission of the CPC, but I'm not. So I really wanted to just thank everybody who made the sign that is out there possible. That was the first thing. That obviously is the Historic Commission, especially Barbara Bartholomew, who spearheaded the project. As Betsy said, it was her vision that really made this possible. She brought the project to the Community Preservation Committee, who I will have to say, I think we just enthusiastically endorsed it, loved it. And then we brought it to town meeting with a warrant article. The Board of Selectmen, the Advisory Board, also unanimously and enthusiastically supported it. And so, finally, a big thank you actually goes to the attendees of the 2011 town meeting, who, I think if my recollection is right, I think it was unanimously approved, the warrant article for this. The only thing I really want to say about community preservation is that historic preservation is one of our allowed uses. And I kind of wanted to highlight some of the other projects that have been done for historic preservation in Norfolk with community preservation monies. One was the restoration of the old schoolhouse, which is in the library right now. We did we helped pay for both the foundation to be restored and the interior renovation, and that's really exciting. The CPA monies have been used for Pondville Cemetery in Pondville. If you go by Norfolk Cemetery on Main Street, the wall and the sign there were done with community preservation monies. Previous repairs on this building were assisted with community preservation money, and the Grange. And then I did want to talk about this because I think this is really an exciting project. And it's the first historic project I think we've done in town that I really view as truly educational. I've lived here 26 years, and early on in the library they were selling a copy of Early Norfolk Revisited, which the town published in 1970 for its 100th birthday. And it's got these just great pictures of all the old buildings in town, most of which that are no longer here. And as I read it, and they would say, well, looking, east on Main Street, and I'd try to envision where these things were and how the town was laid out, and it was very difficult. So the plaque now really allows you to do that, and people can look out at the center of town, really appreciate the links between the past and the present, and just really get a vision of what it used to look like, and some sense of some of the town's history. That's all I really wanted to say. I think it's been a great project. The sign is fantastic, and I wanted to thank Barbara and the Historic Commission and town meeting voters again.
Thank you, Cindy. This is just a little paper version of the real sign, and I think that it stopped raining if we want to go out and actually take a look at it.
It's pouring. It's pouring out there.
Oh, it's pouring. Anybody who wants to see the sign can go look at it later, but right now you can look at it here. Just as a brief explanation, you're standing right here when you're in front of the sign. So when you're in front of the sign here, this is what you're looking at. Main Street would have been that way, of course, and each building is numbered, and that is keyed to the numbers on the sign. And they start here, Barbara, correct me if I'm wrong, and they go across here, and then up here, and then down here, and then they pick up here, and they go down here. So take your time, one at a time, all together, and check it out. And we have cider and donuts for all the brave souls who gave up their Sunday afternoon. Thank you so much for coming.
Wait a minute. Thelma's
going to talk. Oh, I didn't even check the program.
Probably it's not interrupted.
No. We're going to have donuts after everybody speaks.
I have something to say about the town hall. And on May 7th, and that was in 1985, we voted a town meeting to lower the grade of the town hill in order to reconstruct the area and make it more accessible and available. A town hill committee was appointed by the selectmen in 1992 with the following members: Elaine Bauer, Donna Shaw, Suzanne Burns, Thelma Ravinski, and Nancy Seitz. The size of the present hill is just over an acre, a far cry from the 4 acres that Ebenezer Ware was to donate for the building of a meeting house there. A study committee surveyed various groups, organizations, and committees in town and requested their input regarding what they would like the town common to provide for the people. The information and suggestions that were put in the Norfolk Planning Board's master plan served as the basis for the committee's plan. The library trustees and the Historical Commission worked with the study committee. Lowell Robinson, our wonderful resident landscape architect, donated his services. Lowell has done many projects in landscaping for our town, and we hope to put his many drawings into a scrapbook for our keeping. Increased amounts of usable space and visibility across this town center, whereby the grade of the hill had obscured the view of the Federated Church and the surrounding buildings, and made the committee consider lowering the grade of the hill. A new bandstand in traditional New England style would be centrally located on the hill. The old bandstand was removed and taken to the town barns at the Highway Department on Medway Branch. The Tramp House and the Veterans Memorial were linked with connecting walkways, and a brick plaza surrounded Avery Square, so named for Reverend David Avery, who was the main person that caused the separation of the people of North Rentham from Rentham to form our town of Norfolk. And the flagpole is also included in the center of the plaza. The new laws of the American Disabilities Act, the ADA, were complied with. Donations and some town meeting financial support helped to carry the project forward. In May of 1994, the sum of $25,000 was approved to begin work and commitment to ensure proper maintenance of the bandstand yet to be built. All the trees above ground level were taken down on November 9th. New trees were to be planted. An underground watering system was to be installed as there was water on the property. Years ago, a pump was located at the bottom of the hill facing the Federated Church. However, it was decided that an artesian well was to be dug there by Mr. Wiley of Franklin. That pump, what was remaining of it, is here by the Tramp House. And therefore, we would save money by eliminating costly labor to water the grass, shrubs, trees when they were getting established. The tree warden, was Phil Craig at the time, was encouraged to budget time and money to ensure the new trees were properly maintained and pruned. The Garden Club offered to sponsor the commemorative walkway fund project through the sale of bricks, which would surround the new bandstand. In 1995, at a special meeting, town meeting, voters funded the stage 2 of the project and appropriated $50,000. So the overall budget was $75,000. Imagine that. Rough grading of the hill was done with the guidance of Butch Vito and Highway Department crew. The 3 churches of Norfolk sponsored a bench, and Nova, the Norfolk organization for various activities, sponsored another bench, as did the Werlick family and the Garden Club, making 6 benches to be installed. Work began on the new bandstand that was designed by our talented architect, Jim Newbert of Norfolk. A bronze seal donated by the Lions Club was installed on the floor, bearing the seal of Norfolk. A weathervane of a majestic red-tailed hawk in flight was placed on top of the bandstand. In a special election, Norfolk's elementary school children chose this design from 3 candidates, a fox, a Canadian goose, and a hawk. And across the way, the Federated Church rooster had better keep a sharp eye out. Many groups began to utilize the town hill and bandstand. The first marriage in the bandstand was between Stephanie Hayes and Bradford Cobb. Many family gatherings, wedding receptions, magicians, summer concerts, and of course, the Celebrate Norfolk activities were held on the hill. Don't forget Santa's parade and the bell ringers and the choral singers and ceremonies for the veterans and the dedication of the 9/11 statue sculptured by Michael Alfano are among many of the activities the hill provided. On June 23rd, 1996, all those years after 1985, a year after our 125th celebration of our town's incorporation, on a warm summer's day, townspeople gathered to celebrate this memorable day, the rededication of our town hill. People spread out blankets and chairs and were entertained by elementary school bands, which were the first to perform in the new bandstand. After the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Yaffa Drotman, our selectwoman, and other town, state, and committee representatives gave special recognition to many people who worked on this project. The Norfolk Garden Club members, Debbie DeBello, Barbara Cayese, Linda McGilvery, and Drusy Beloff, were to be commended for their fine job of successful brick project that brought monies to fund the commemorative walkway surrounding the bandstand. The Tramp House, built in 1886, so called because it housed vagrants and unemployed persons who traveled the country looking for work, shelter, and food at the time when the country was going through hard times. Money was appropriated for them and crackers were brought for them, and they could get shelter and rest in the Tramp House. The building was also used as a lockup, and bars were placed on the windows, and it was used for home economics, manual training for students, and it became a barber shop too. The veterans of foreign wars used it. The electrical system for the hill is stored behind a false door in the rear of the building. We are to be grateful to persons who work faithfully and hard to accomplish this lovely area. Our thanks go out to the members who included Nancy Sykes, chairperson, Elaine Bauer, Jan Conklin, Fran Holman, whose husband Clifton was structural engineer, Pat Michael, Thelma Ravinski, Donna Shaw, Michelle Tatzel, Patrick Willoughby, and Lowell Robinson. So now we celebrate the placement of a wonderful panel depicting the buildings that once surrounded this town common. Thanks to the design and workmanship of Barbara Bartholomew, our researcher for the Historical Commission. May we all enjoy for years to come the hill, the little red schoolhouse within the library, unique in its placement, as well as the Tramp House, the gardens and trees, and the Ware Crypt to remind us of whose property this once belonged to look upon the panel and see all the changes that took place over the years and brought us to the stage of this history of our lovely town hill.
Hey. We get a good picture of you guys together. You gonna sit?
Yeah, I think I'm going to stay for sitting. I'd like to welcome you all. I'm glad you all came. I want to give special thanks to the CPC for underwriting my project. And I want to thank officially and unofficially all those who contributed. You'll find if you examine the panel, there's a list on the bottom of credits. And I just did not have sufficient room to put everyone there, unfortunately. And some of the contributions may be minor, but they were also major. For instance, a gentleman from Rentham by the name of Alex McClintock came up with a stereoptic photo of Josiah Ware's house. And we had never seen it before. All we had was a charcoal drawing. And we were able to digitally reproduce that, so we now know exactly what Josiah Ware's, the station master's house, looked like that sat on the site where Daly's gas station is today. This replica panel over here, which is 2/3 of the size of the real thing, is courtesy of David LaPointe. And that we were stuck without, with bits and pieces, trying to look at this thing and proof it and all. And he came up with the means by which he could print it out and mount it for us, so it was more workable. And I'm hopeful that it will be used for illustrative purposes, and it may also be of use to the schools. He did one earlier for the Fales Park, which is behind you. And that panel, if you're not aware, has been completed now for 2 years, and it's been sitting gathering dust in our office. And it's hit a little snafu in that there's a legal controversy over the title to the land in which it's going to be erected. And therefore we can't put the sign up until they clarify the legal status of the land. So I thought it might be time, since no one has really seen it, this might be a good unveiling for the first panel that was done. And this one depicts the history of Stop River Falls and the foundry that was there. If you're unaware, there was a blast furnace, there was a leach blast furnace there, and that basically this was the foundation of the Fields family in the Norfolk Walpole area, and the panel tells that tale. There were replicas of it, or printouts, and feel free to take a sample home with you and show it around to others who weren't able to make it today. Now, unable to be with us today were two of the engineers at Tri-County, Fran Williams and Linda Thompson. And with the students there, of course, we contrived these two panels. And in order for them to work, we had to convert everything to digital, the age of the computer. And when you take this current project, we were working with photographs that were 100 to 150 years old, which presented a problem. How could we reproduce these without any further deterioration or loss in quality? And I am very much indebted to Andrew Eckhart at Norfolk Cable, because he, having selected the photos, he with his equipment was able to scan them up to 2,000 PSI so that they were usable by Norfolk County Graphics to give us an excellent repro for the panel. The panel itself is an interesting scheme and technology. We don't know all the ins and outs because it's trademark and patent secrets. But essentially what the Panier company, that is the producer of this system, is that they photographically reproduce the digital image of all of the items on the panel from the files. And they print it on specially treated material, paper, fiber, I don't know its exact content. And then it is embedded in fiberglass. So the real panel, when you look at it over on the comment, is a fiberglass panel that is almost indestructible. It is UV protected, it is weatherproof, it is vandal-proof to the point where you would need a 500-pound sledgehammer to smash it. It has its own self-locks, so you would have to be an engineering genius to remove it. So I think we've come up with something that's widely used throughout the state and national parks in the United States and has a true record of success, and that will last for a considerable number of years and is an excellent investment for the community. The task of selecting the pictures, of course, was a fun one. There were always more than you could possibly use, and coming down to the 27 that would tell the story. But the story is linked to that map, and we're fortunate today to have with us the surveyor, Mr. Anderson from Walpole, who was key in the maps for both of these panels in creating a usable map that we could key the pictures to the sites. And he was able to overlay the new map of the town streets with the old map, so we could see the before and after, which I think is essential to understanding where everything is. The idea for this was born one night long ago, about, I think it was the year 2009. Some of you might have been there that night. We were in the gazebo, and I was doing a History on the Hill program, and I don't recall what prompted it, but anyway, I stood up, and I started the litany of, well, over there used to be Josiah Ware's station master house, and over there was the tavern, and the parsonage was over here, and suddenly the bell went off, or as I tell Thelma, I had a light bulb moment. I thought, that's a great idea, because standing there at that vantage point, you could go clockwise, and you could see all of the areas surrounding Town Hill, and you could visualize, or I could visualize, what was and used to be there. And that's what that panel does. It shows you what used to be there and what is there. If you were there in 1796, when the first hammer was struck on the first meeting house, all that was there was a hill. Over here was the crypt, and over here was a smaller structure where the parsonage now stands. And that's it. There was nothing else. It was all open land. And this was at the very edge of the Wares holdings in North Rentham. And this is the Wares of Weirland down on Boardman Street. And this was the very edge of the holding. And if we had been there to witness it, we would have been able to see Elijah, who was the son of Ebenezer, who had bequeathed the land to the town for a meeting house. We would have seen him sitting across the street along about, I put it about where the Prudential real estate office is and the dentist's office is. There was a little knoll there, and he was sitting at a few months before his death in his rocking chair, witnessing the beginning of the structure of the meeting house. And prior to that, before the meeting house was built, the crypt was there, the small structure in the parsonage, and there was a little schoolhouse sitting to the left of the panel. And it was built in 1778, and it was the first permanent schoolhouse structure in North Rentham. And they had to take it down because it was in the way, and they rebuilt another one over in the corner of Rockwood and Maine, there where Daly Station's corner is. So this was a vacant area. As a youngster, I had home economics in this very building. The stove was there and the sewing class was down there. And we used to come over the hill. And if you stood out here outside the Tramp House and looked back, all you could see was the very tip of the then, before the steeple was on, the top of the Federated Church. And you could see the rooftop of the parsonage. And the hill was that high. It was like a V. And so when Thelma talks about the removal, they took it down about a third because you can now see a good portion of it standing out here. And North Street, of course, ran through, right, and back here, and there was no Union Street originally. That was to come later after the railroad came through. Union Street would be created. So many, many changes in my lifetime. I've witnessed them. I went to the old center school. It's depicted on there before it was torn down. I was on the, I think, what was it? I graduated in 46, so I was third to last. The last class through, I think, was 49. And I graduated in 46 before they closed it and opened the central school down on Boardman Street. The last thing I think I have to say is I can't thank Tri-County. They never identified me for me, the students. I do know that on both projects there were a couple of Norfolk students, and I will try and go back and have them identify which of our students worked on these two projects. And I hope that this will make it possible to preserve this corner of Norfolk history, and we won't lose all the things, all the parts of the past. Thank you all.
Thank you. Well, please, should we all take a quick run out and see what the real thing looks like? Yeah. And this is one of the only images we have of the original town hall. So you see it only had one tower. And then when they turned it into the town hall, when Norfolk became a town, and that happened about 1872. Why they did that, who knows. They tore down the tower, and they built two more. And here's where North Street came right through, and here's the crypt, what it looked like. This is one of my favorite pictures, this awesome picture. It was built into a hill. And of course now it looks like it's built into the library. And of course it used to be across North Street.
Piece of North Street, wasn't it called Toll Street for a while?
Was it?
I think it had a sign.
I never heard of that.
I can remember riding on my bicycle through there.
Yeah.